Good evening, and thanks for joining tonight's school committee meeting of Tuesday, June 15th. It is an exciting night as we have all of our members in the studio tonight. I do want to note that while our agenda noted that public participation needed to happen just via Zoom, as of right now, public participation can now start to happen in public, and we will update our future agendas to reflect that. We did have the ability to come in via Zoom for public comment, and when we get to that point, we can see if there's anybody on that wanted to speak tonight. But I did want to note that we are all here in person. Public comment can now start to happen in person as well as via Zoom. And so with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as we do at every meeting, I'm going to go ahead and read the mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Is there anybody on the Zoom for public comment? Doesn't look like there is. So I think, and we don't have anybody in person, so I think we're going to move on. So Maggie, our lone Student Advisory Council member, do you have some updates for us in this last week of school?
I do indeed. Start with academics. So MCAS is over. It went great. It was a few weeks ago. Ms. McLeod shared the last day of school schedule for this upcoming Friday, and high school students will get out at 10:45, and we'll have the chance to see all their teachers during that one day in shortened blocks. The deadline to enroll in AP classes for next year is going to be June 30th. And then athletics-wise, we just want to wish everybody good luck for all the spring sports teams competing in states this week and next week. And then just overall other school stuff. If students are keeping their school-issued devices over the summer, they need to be sure they are kept safe and in good condition. And then if any other school-issued materials that they have should be returned by the end of the year, so the devices are the only exception. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all we got. Sophia said that she would be here. She is having serious computer troubles, but yes, so we planned this out.
Awesome. Any questions for Maggie? All right. Thank you, Maggie. And have a great summer. I don't know if you're going to dial into our summer meetings.
I don't know. I'll see.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
That's fair. See you, Maggie.
We'll definitely let you know. Maybe check back.
All right, we've got our consent agenda. Tom, Mr. Markham?
I move the school committee approve the minutes of May 25, 2021 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the May 20, 2021 and June 3, 2021 school committee finance and facilities subcommittee meetings and the minutes of the May 19, 2021 and June 2, 2021 school committee policy and communications subcommittee meeting and the minutes of the May 19 school committee student services subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Oh, Amy?
There was just one, it was a typo, it was number 11, it just said that the meeting was Tuesday, June 8th at 7:30 a.m. I don't know if that's a big deal, but I remember thinking, do we have a 7:30?
June 8th? That also sounds...
Which set of subcommittee meetings?
Yeah, which ones?
It's I know it's item number 11. May 25th. Are we not approving those? Am I that behind? It's part of the packet.
So it's the May 25 school committee meeting?
Was it?
Or what, was it the whole committee?
It's just this, no, future dates and agenda items, number 11. See, next virtual meeting,
Oh, okay.
7:30 a.m. It's just a little typo.
Okay,
I don't know if we're supposed to point those out.
and that's in the notes, Amy. You're
Okay.
seeing that from the meeting.
Yes,
So.
Oh, it says June 8th, 7:30 a.m.
Right.
And it needs to be p.m.
yeah, just.
And at the time, we thought the meeting was gonna be the 8th, which then got moved to today. So
Okay.
that the date is not correct, but at the time it was correct. So, we would make a motion to amend those. I don't know how to do that.
Well,
So
we would
moved.
just make it, I think we should just ask the clerk to change it 7:30
Yeah.
a.m. to 7:30 p.m. It was just a typo.
This is
Yep.
a typo.
Nothing substantive there, unless,
Accept it with that change.
Yep,
Yep.
yeah.
okay. So that's all we have to do? And then vote? Okay, any other comments? So Judy, you'll go ahead and make that change, and we'll take a roll call vote, Judy?
Susie, I don't think you have to do roll call now that you're all in the studio, except for me.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I forget
You
what
just-
we do.
We just raised, all in favor, say
Okay,
raise your hand.
see, I don't even know how to do
You
that.
just- then you just-
All right, ready? All in favor?
Opposed?
All opposed, thank you.
Exciting.
Nobody's opposed. Oh my goodness, guys.
It's
Okay.
gonna go much quicker.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's so unanimously passed. Okay. Next up, Christine, we've got budget reports.
Yes, we do. We
All
have
right.
the budget reports for the first 11 months of fiscal '21. This is through May 31st. As you can see, our remaining balance is 3.28%. We just have a few line items that went slightly over, so we'll have some budget transfers probably in early August to do some transfers. And then the final 2 pages are the grants and revolving. Spending down is occurring, as you can see. Just have a little bit more work to do on the METCO grant, because unfortunately we weren't able to do all the projects that we thought when we wrote the grant, so we have a few amendments to do. And as well as the revolving. We're just trying to reconcile and finish for the year. Does anyone have any questions?
So
Mike?
Christine, we assume we're gonna stay within budget with the
We
additional
are.
month? Yeah, so, okay, thank you.
We are gonna stay in the budget. Tom?
I have a question. Thanks, Christine. Line 14, contracted services, seems to be the largest that is out of balance at this time as a line item. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure, really due to COVID.
Well, I'm sure most of the
Right.
negative balances are probably due to COVID,
Right.
but that's much larger than the rest.
Yes, that line includes some of the COVID-related services, not just for facilities, but also for some of our remote staff, and things we had to do to our buildings, the HVAC report, improvements to buildings. We've really kept it to one line, only because it's easier to track, because that's what's gonna get audited. And there was some line items for there that we submitted for FEMA reimbursement, which, talking to Tom Walsh, we're hoping to receive by June 30th. The FEMA reimbursement, when we started, was going to be about 72 to 75%. Right now, we're looking at 100% reimbursement for those items. So that's really encouraging. We're just working to get that before June 30th to do some final spending for June and for early summer.
Great. Now, what's the dollar value, if you know, even in round numbers, of the FEMA
Probably
reimbursement?
upwards of $100,000 for FEMA.
Thank you.
Mike?
Christine? So, 2 questions. Who does our audit and when does it take place?
We have Powers and Sullivan is our auditing firm. They usually come once or twice a year. They do a single audit for all grants and revolving accounts, and then they audit the end-of-year report. They just come in and do like a random testing of payrolls, accounts payables. Yeah.
And
They do,
they'll-
they do the town as well.
I assume they do the year-end audit? Is
Yes.
it? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And that usually happens over the summer or later?
Sometimes in the late fall or early winter.
Okay, thanks.
They make sure that you've finished all your reporting, because we can go until August and then we can do amendments. So that's why they wait till the fall or winter.
Great, thank you.
Quick question on the Metco grant. If we were unable to spend all of the money or do all of the things that we had put in the grant, does that mean that we end up giving money back?
It's unfortunately one of the grants that doesn't carry
Yeah.
forward to the next year, so a lot of other districts are also struggling with this as well, because Glavia has huge plans for the summer. It includes busing, tutoring services, but that's coming from the next year's budget, which we've already submitted for.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But to answer your question, if there was any money left over, we would have to return it to the state.
Okay.
And with that particular grant, I can share that other school systems are struggling because of COVID.
Right.
Part of the enrollment was remote, and so it's kind of a difficult thing to kind of expend all of that budget in ways that we have in years past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have no gifts for tonight, and we just have the payroll reports, the payrolls for May 14th and May 28th.
I move the school committee approve payroll warrants number 46 and number 48 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor? All opposed? All right, that's unanimous, yes. Okay. Thanks, Christine. So I've got two things for tonight. One, you guys hopefully received in the mail from the MASC, the conference that's happening in November. I just wanted to mention this because I went to this 2 years ago just for one day. I drove down for the day and went to some sessions and drove back the same night, which was a long day. But it was really really good content and just really interesting to kind of hear from other school districts about what they're doing. So certainly, and we can talk more about this at the retreat, but if you didn't get this in the mail, let me know and I can get you guys a copy of it too. But it's something that we should definitely talk about, and I believe there's budget to pay for this if we go. Right.
There's a line item.
Yeah, there's a line item for it, so I thought I'd mention that. The other thing is the meeting calendar for July on. And so Judy and I took a look at kind of the calendar and the layout of it. Included in your packet, we have, the dates that we have in June, which were tonight, our special meeting on Thursday, another meeting on the 29th. We had the July 13th meeting that we had already agreed to, the retreat on the 31st, and then the 2nd and the 4th Tuesdays in August. For the rest of September, October, November, it follows the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday, which is kind of the convention that we've typically followed in the past. December, we only have one meeting scheduled, which is the 2nd Tuesday. The 4th would be during the Christmas vacation or the holiday, the winter vacation. And so we'll only meet once in December. January follows the 2nd and 4th convention. So where things get a little hairy is February, March, and April, and May. And not hairy, but just in a way, when you look at kind of the way that the Tuesdays and the Tuesdays fall, we end up hitting February vacation if we do the 2nd and the 4th. We have 5 Tuesdays in March, and we have 5 Tuesdays in May. And so what Doug and I talked about was kind of changing the schedule up a little bit so that we meet once in February, that is not during February vacation. We meet every other week in March, so we end up meeting the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. In April, we meet in the middle of the month, not during vacation week. And then there's been some discussion, Mike, you had mentioned it, kind of, we definitely have talked about it over the last 2 Aprils, of coming off of the election and having a meeting right after the election is hard for people who ran, people who are currently on the committee, when we're trying to do, who's going to be the president and the vice, or the chair and the vice chair, and so we thought maybe this is the year that we go ahead and make that move. We've talked about it a couple of times, and the calendar actually lines up pretty nicely to do that. So what we're saying is we meet once in April, but then we meet 3 times in May. So we'd meet the Tuesday after the election. We'd have those 3 in May. We'd meet once in June, and then we have a day in July. of course, we can revisit this. If we need to get another meeting in June, we can always revisit this. But having just looked at the calendar and the way things fell, this was what we wanted to propose as the calendar for next year. But I did want to just find out if anybody has any concerns with that or any questions.
Just curious, what date is the election next year?
It is the 26th,
Okay.
so it's the 2 weeks after the 12th.
So give it a 6 day. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so you'd actually have a full week before we would meet again. Any questions, concerns? Okay, so I think we're gonna proceed with this being the calendar for now, and again, like, we always have the opportunity to change it if we need to. I think the goal was to try to stay as close to the second and fourth Tuesdays where it made sense. That's what WCAT expects, it's kind of what the public expects, but I definitely think for February, March, April, and May, it makes sense to make some changes. You okay there?
Excuse me, yeah.
Okay.
Jumping
Okay.
on the calendar.
Are you gonna send that to WEF now as well?
Yep, Judy will do
Okay,
that.
perfect.
Yep, yeah, I know that they were asking you for it, yeah.
That's good.
Yep,
That's good.
okay. Okay, that's it from me. Mr. Lyons.
Thank you very much. So I have 5 topics on the agenda for this evening. With your permission, Madam Chair, I'd like to take my topics out of order.
Sure.
I'd like to start off with honoring our retirees. And then after that, would like to move to just comments and then summer services. But I'll kind of make that distinction as we go. So this year, we have 12 retirees, or 12 faculty and staff retiring from the Wakefield Public Schools. And so joining us this evening are 6 faculty and staff members. So members that we have with us joining via Zoom are Roseanne Bakos in the upper left-hand corner, Julie Farrell from Dolbear. Hi, Julie. Also from Dolbear, Kathy Uver. So we have Robin Biagioni from Dolbear. It's like we have the entire faculty from Dolbear here. My goodness. I was reading earlier today, and I thought 3 faculty members from Dolbear. TJ is gonna have his work cut out for them. But so we also welcome Sue Widmer. Hi, Sue. We have Constance Ryan. Hi, Connie. So they're joining us here in studio. Pre-COVID, what we would do to recognize and to as a recognition space for our faculty and staff that were retiring, we would gather here at the high school. We would meet downstairs in the Warrior Lounge. We would have hors d'oeuvres, and we would have an opportunity to visit, talk, reminisce. And so often kind of a number of our retired faculty and staff would come back. Sometimes older administrators that had retired would come back. It was really a nice space to connect, to be able to talk and hear about your work, right? And really hear about, what you're looking forward to in your retirement. And so in the course of 2021, this very difficult pandemic year, to date, we have 12 faculty and staff that have retired or are retiring. So I'm going to share kind of the names and a little bit about each faculty member. With the faculty and staff that are joining us tonight, that are here with us on Zoom, I'm going to say a few more words just in recognition of your service, if you would allow, right? And so, so we have 3 faculty members that are retiring this year from Wakefield Memorial High School. They are James Jellison, paraeducator, who has 12 years of service with us in the special education space. Jim Jellison has been an exceptional administrator and an exceptional support for students, families, and staff. He has guided our students in our School to Life program and is really has just such a unique way and unique skill of working with students and helping them participate in our school and in our larger community. So for Jim Jellison, we want to wish you the best. I know he's going to be moving or spending a little bit more time in Maine, and so we wish him the absolute best. And so also retiring from the high school is Joy Schilling, who has 36 years of service we could dedicate a full meeting to Joy. She's like a book in the making. There's someone's going to write that story. And so, I spoke with her earlier today, and she had plans for this evening and couldn't make it. But Joy has 36 years of service at Wakefield Memorial High School, 36, and is pretty much responsible, either singly or collaboratively, for all the things that are happening in art at the high school and in the larger Wakefield community. When you see, artwork around town, when you see the pumpkins being carved ahead of Halloween, when you see our art shows that are put on by kids, Joy was kind of the architect of all of that. And she will be so sorely missed. We want to wish her the absolute best in her retirement. And our last member retiring from the high school is here with us tonight is Sue Widmer, right? And so teaching for Sue was a second career. Originally, she was an industrial photographer with RCA in Burlington. So correct me if I'm off with any of this, Sue. Want to do you justice here. And so Sue has been with us for 13 years as a special educator at the high school in the science department, right? So when she was raising her kids and she got her first degree in 1992 and then later got a master's degree in 2007 from Salem State, she really started in the classroom in 95 as a classroom aide in Linfield, where she worked for 4 years before teaching 8 years at the Harbor School in Amesbury for students with social emotional disabilities, which is just really an exceptional space to learn about special education and the needs of students. She joined Wakefield in 2007 and has been with us for 13 years. Sue, in recognition of your service, we will be placing a book in the library, and on the inside cover on the placard will be your name and your service, the years of service that you've kind of worked here with us. The name of the book is World Travel, An Irreverent Guide by Anthony Bourdain and Laurie Woolever, right? And so that book will be with us here, and faculty and staff can take that out. And I know something that you're particularly proud of is the recognition that you received in 2016 from WEF as kind of a foundation faculty member that they wanted to recognize as just an exceptional educator. So we want to wish you absolutely the best and say congratulations and thank you for your service to the Wakefield Public Schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So next we move to the middle level. We have 3 educators that are retiring from Galvin Middle School. 2 educators that can't be here with us tonight, one is here, Connie's here. One that couldn't be here is Kathy Fenlon, who worked the last 9 years of her career. She retired earlier in the year before the school year really got underway, and she's sorely missed. She was a grade 8 math teacher, really just a fierce advocate for kids and a terrific team member. We hope she's well and wish her and her family continued success and goodwill in her retirement. Next is Connie Ryan. So Connie is a paraeducator. Connie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And so Connie has been with us for 23 years and has been so consistent and just a positive presence in the lives of our students and our faculty. Faculty members describe you as a complete team player, willing to do anything. And so in the time of COVID, I can't imagine, how appreciated or how much that has meant to everybody. So we want to thank you for your service and wish you the absolute best in your retirement. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So last at the middle school, retiring after 18 years of service, is Roseanne Bakos. And so Roseanne, I think some of our members were a little concerned to call you Roseanne. They wanted to call you Mrs. Bakos. I hope that's okay. And so, in the last 18 years that she has been in service to the Wakefield Public Schools, she's really been involved, either collaborating or leading, kind of all things language or world language at the middle level, right? So she knew at a very young age she wanted to be a teacher, started subbing in Saugus and Peabody, which led to a full-time position at Higgins Junior High. And then in 2003, Dr. Mayo and Dr. Mullen hired you as a 6th grade French-Spanish teacher. Is that accurate? Yeah. And then you were promoted to 7th and 8th grade, right? And which is just wonderful. And so, and I know that you've had a hand in so much that happens there in regard to International Night. And I know something that you're so proud of is our Quebec trip, which pre-COVID was such a hallmark for our 8th grade students. You actually had me looped in to be a chaperone one year, which you're just relentless, and I couldn't say no, which I love. So we want to thank you so much for your service. We want to wish you well. We know you're going to be spending some terrific time with your grandson, who's just 1 now, Roseanne, right? Oliver, right? And so we want to wish you the absolute best in your retirement as well. So thank you.
Thank you. He's gonna turn 1 on Sunday.
Ah,
Nice.
good. So next we have elementary. So we have 5 retirements from the elementary level. So first up is Margie McCarthy. Margie has taught for over 30 years in the Wakefield Public Schools. She has such a deep love and devotion for Wakefield, and she has taught at the Lincoln School, the Walton, Doyle, Montrose, and has finished just recently at Woodville in a 3rd grade position. In the book that we will be donating in recognition of her over 30 years of service is a book named Outside In by Deborah Underwood, and it's illustrated by Cindy Derby. It's a poetic picture book, which really is symbolic of how Margie teaches and how she uses picture books to develop language skills in students in grade 3. She's just such an exceptional person. We are going to miss her very much, and we wish her and her family the absolute best in her retirement. Next faculty member up, she's with us here this evening, is Kathy Yuva. All right, should I say DeRoche Yuva? Are you hyphenating your name now, Kathy? What? So.
That goes back. It's a long story behind that. No, Yuva's fine.
All right. So I love that you've included your maiden name, because for people that are watching, and they may not know this, you're a 1981 graduate of Wakefield Memorial High School, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing, right? You were a student teacher here in '85. Oh, no. You were a student teacher with Miss Philbrick in '85 or '86, Kath?
It was 84 or 85. Okay.
And then in '86, you started your teaching career here, which is unbelievable. And so, she started teaching at the Franklin School. After having her second child, she went part-time and then taught at the Ewell from '95 to '97, kindergarten. And then in '97, came back to the Montrose School. And then in '99, went to teach 3rd grade at Dolbear from '99 to 2013. And then in 13, as you say, joined the Dream Team, the 4th grade group, which is wonderful. And so, Kathy, we can't thank you enough for your service and your dedication. And I know you've reminded me several times that in your 35 years here, that you've worked for 11 different principals and 8 different superintendents. I don't know if you're sending a message to me there. I'm just hoping, I still have kids in college working on a second contract. So, but all joking aside, Kathy, we are indebted. I am indebted for your ability to collaborate and guide us and give us feedback. You've been absolutely amazing. And so we know you had a little gathering today for your service at Dolbear. We saw that kind of email going back and forth there, and it's really well deserved. And we want to thank you very, very much from all of the administrators, especially us here at the district. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, Kathy.
So next, also at Dolbear is Robin Biagioni. So Robin has been with us for over 26 years. So the book that will be going to the Dolbear Library in recognition for her years of service is called Borrowing Bunnies, A Surprising True Tale of Fostering Rabbits by Cynthia Lord and Hazel Mitchell. And so, you know, Robin has done a little of everything in special education. And, you know, Robin, I will tell you that when you announced that you were retiring this year, I took several phone calls and people asked, you know, like, did you know? Or what are we gonna do? Are we gonna be able to open school? Like, I don't know if you understand all of the kind of positive things and recognition that families had and positive thoughts and kind of the wonderful space and direction that you have given in the special education space to so many students and families. So I will tell you, I also want to thank you for your service, and we wish you the absolute best of luck in your retirement. So thank you.
Thank you.
So someone who couldn't be with us tonight, who retired earlier this year, is Lisa Diso, who had 10 years of service, was a reading specialist at the Woodville, known as a very positive, caring member of faculty and staff, and is just really exceptional, and we wish her well in her retirement. Last faculty member who's here with us this evening is Julie Farrell. So Julie, thank you so much for being with us. I know, I think there might have been a gathering either today or yesterday for you as well. And so Julie has over 20 years of service in the Wakefield Public Schools in kindergarten, right? And if you've ever had the pleasure, I've visited Julie and Jen Gallant in the classroom several times. And if you ever have the pleasure of seeing people that were kind of, it's like God put them here to teach young children, Julie is part of that wonderful team there at Dolbear, and kind of doing the quick math, has kind of welcomed and acclimated over 400 students to the Wakefield Public Schools, and has gotten them started on their way as kindergarten students. You know, you always, every single day, I see you laughing. You get such a kick out of students, and you lead with such love and care. Really, it's just such an exceptional thing to watch. So thank you so much for your service. The book that will be in the Dolbear Library in recognition of your 20 years of service is What Do You Call Your Grandma? By Ashley Barton and Martina Hajdusek. And so again, Julie, thank you so much. I hope that you will stay in touch. And I hope all of you are willing to sub next year, because we have several positions for you, right? And so we have a number of things we'd like to talk about after this meeting. But we want to thank you so much for your service. And the one person that couldn't be here tonight, who retired earlier in the year, Cindy Conway, who started off as the secretary in central office in 2000, later went to Walton and then to the special education department. And I only knew her as the secretary of Doyle. And if you saw Cindy Conway at Doyle, I don't think you could have imagined her doing anything else. She knew every child, every family. You could hear her laughter. She had this screaming laughter, which would be bellowing out of the office. She cracked herself up. Students cracked her up. So she spent the better part of every day laughing, which is really wonderful. And we hope she's well, and we wish her the absolute best in her retirement. So to our retirees, from all of our principals, all of our administrators, all of our district administrators, we want to thank you, right? We want to thank you. And so you've been so exceptional.
So I am going to take a minute because three of the people on the screen, although I'm getting emotional, three of the people on the screen taught both of my children. So I had boy-girl twins who went to kindergarten together, even though I had requested that they be separated. They ended up in the same class with Mrs. Gallant and Mrs. Farrell. And I can't even look at you and think Julie, Mrs. Farrell, like you're Mrs. Farrell. And so my kids had the pleasure of being a part of that dream team, like you talk about, and really got off to such an amazing start at the Dole Bear. And they finished, my son, with Mrs. Yuva in 4th grade. My son adored you, Kathy, as you know. One of the things that people always said about Kathy was that she was just such a great teacher for boys. In particular, she had boys, she got sports, she talked sports, she could have all of the sporty boy conversations, and my son adored being in your class. My daughter also did the math club with you, and so she had the pleasure of being kind of a part of your experience and loved going to math club in the mornings with Mrs. Yuva. And so my kids both got to have both Mrs. Farrell and Mrs. Yuva at the Dole Bear, and then they both got to have Mrs. Bakos for French at the Galvin. And they were so looking forward to that Quebec City trip. And then COVID happened, and they're graduating from 8th grade this year, did not get to go on that trip, but boy, did they want to go on that trip. And they really enjoyed their time learning French. We have a very French last name, and so French was always going to be the language that they took, and they will pursue that at the high school. And I apologize that I don't have stories for the other teachers that are on here, but I feel really lucky to be able to talk about my personal experience with 3 of you, because my children were very, very lucky to have the 3 of you as educators during their time. So thank you so much for everything that you've done, and a special merci, Madame, for Mrs. Bakos. Anybody else have any comments that they want to make?
Yeah, 3 of you have touched my children's lives too. Joy Schilling, Mrs. Bakos, and Kathy. Great job.
Kevin.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that story, Madam Chair. It's always nice kind of hearing some of the ways that our faculty have impacted and touched all of our students' lives. And this is always one of my favorite events. I agree. I wish this was in person because it's always a nice opportunity to take a moment to recognize the decades of experiences and the untold number of lives that all of you have impacted over the course of your career. Christine looked over a little bit. I started to add all the years, and you see I stopped at the end. I said 200 plus. There's 200 plus years of experience, and it's becoming rarer that people were in the system when I was here, but those that had the 3 or the high 2s were, so I am definitely familiar with many of the people that were here, and I can attest to the impact that you have all had, and those that have preceded you, and those that will follow you. Education's not always easy, and just hearing like the vignette that the chair spoke, and certainly the untold stories of generations of students and the impact that you had on them. So it's bittersweet to see some of our rock star faculty and staff leave our community and our school systems, but it's well-deserved retirement. So congratulations to all of you, and on a very well-deserved time, and I hope you all feel really good about the amazing career that you had here. And so on behalf of alumni, thank you for all the contributions that you've had to all of us that have been lucky enough to be in your classrooms and benefit from your role as an educator or staff person. So thank you.
Go ahead, Amy.
So sharing the same sentiment as everybody else, thank you all for all your years of teaching, and a couple that I've had close interactions with, Mrs. Schilling, I actually had in school. Cindy Conway is somebody that I know well, and let's see, Kathy, I can't forget you, of course. You were supposed to stay around for 9 more years, though, for my little one. So I'll let it slide. And to Mrs. Bakos, my daughter has you for Spanish and loves your class. And she's sad that she's not going to have you next year in 8th grade. But many thanks to all of you, and have a great retirement. Enjoy yourselves, and be well.
Yeah, thank you. I would just, I'd really just like to add, to the comments of what what the members have already said, but the words of thank you, certainly they seem to be, always not enough. They're appropriate and they're apt, but it's never enough. People who give, like each of you have, a lifetime, a career, toward educating, toward helping, to guiding, and to caring for, really, the young people in our town is inspiring. It's really what I think why we all sort of want to do the work that we do, is to support, frankly, the work that you do. Each of the things that each of the days that you have come, you've impacted a young person's life, and I think that's something that can't be understated, and should never be undersold. It's just a significant part of what makes Wakefield as a community and Wakefield Public Schools so strong, is the quality of the teaching faculty and staff and the support staff and the teams that support the work we do to help the young people in our town. And thank you is never enough, but certainly your retirements are well earned, well deserved, and I'm sure a very genuine, heartfelt thanks from dozens, years and years of generations of young people who are in a better place today because of each of you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. And I think we're going to let them all go, right?
Absolutely.
Go have a big glass of wine or champagne or beer, whatever you'd like, or water. But again, thanks for coming tonight. It's been nice to be able to recognize you all.
Thank you so much. Next up, I'd like to continue to take items out of order, if I may.
Okay.
So I would like to move to summer services.
Okay.
And I'd like to introduce Estelle Burdick, who's the director of Wakefield Academy. She's going to be sharing some information in a short slide deck this evening. And also joining her will be Kara Morrow. And Bev Elsowitz is also going to has zoomed in the event that there are any questions in regard to ESY programming that we might not be able to answer here in studio. So I'd like to turn it over to you, Estelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to present about Wakefield Academy tonight. I just wanted to give a brief overview of what Wakefield Academy offers to our families. Wakefield Academy is our extended day programming, and it provides morning care and after-school care and enrichment to all of our K to 8 right now, and pre-K as well in the past, and hopefully soon. The main focus that I want to draw your attention to is our summer programming, which is really a testament to how much Wakefield supports their students. We have our Summer Warriors program and our camp program, as well as our enrichment program. So we call it, this summer we call it the Summer of Success, because coming off of this pandemic year has been quite a challenge, and we want to let our students know that, you know what, this summer you're coming in, and whether it's social or academic, you're going to have a successful summer and you're just going to shine. So our first piece is our Summer Warriors, which is the program where we focus on academics for our students. We have an extremely fantastic, exceptional team this year. We have our K-1 classroom, which is going to focus on 17 of our rising K-1 students. And then we have our rising 2nd through 5th grade classroom. This classroom in particular, thanks to a gift, has resulted in an enrollment of, actually the number has changed since this slide was made, which wasn't that long ago, to about 116 students that we're going to be offering intervention and enriching services in the classroom. Part of that is we have 10 highly skilled teachers who are going to be teaching these classrooms, and they're going to also be supported by our ISPs, or our instructional support personnel. All of this staff is highly experienced in Wakefield, has either worked for the summer program before, or we even have several that I've been able to recruit to join us this summer, so it's just made this team amazing. Our students are going to experience academics for ELA, reading and writing, our math, and our hands-on science, which we're getting a little creative with, where we have a outside program provider who has done enrichment for us for many years, and she's actually going to be supporting our hands-on science. So it's really going to be exceptional. These students are in for such a treat. It's just amazing. So they'll be receiving their intervention targeted just to what their needs are in small group and whole group instruction. So we look very much forward to providing these services and using a measured growth format so that we can actually see the growth that these students go through over the next 6 weeks. Our next piece is our camp piece. So that's our more laid back piece. This is the part where students, who are done with the classroom, that they just want to break. They want to be social, they want to be with their peers. Their families just want them to have a true summer experience. We're going to be providing them our tiniest ones, which I can't wait to see, is our pre-K students. So we'll be working in partnership with the ESY Bev Elsowitz program, where our littlest ones are going to be joining our ESY students in the classroom and having their learning experience there. And then they'll come out in the afternoon and they'll come join our Wakefield Academy specific staff, where they'll be engaged again in more social and positive experiences to enrich them. And I can't wait because they're just so tiny. So we have our Rising K through 5 camp as well. So this again, it's that social experience for them. It's your true camp experience. If you remember GIMP when you were little, or making those pot holders, that mom had to display forever, and then still probably has in the attic. Those students are going to be participating in small group and whole group activities such as arts and crafts and the games, as well as engaging in social experiences, and getting to know their peers, and developing those relationships that, weren't quite as developed as we would have liked this year due to the circumstances. So our last piece is our enrichment. Our Summer of Success wouldn't be the same without it. Our families in Wakefield look forward to enrichment every fall when our program starts up again with the school year, and our students just absolutely love our providers. So for our third piece, where students may not be enrolled in our camp, but the families just want to add a little pizzazz to their summer and maybe take a little break from their
Is that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
There we go.
Thanks so much.
Sorry. So this piece is focused on students and families that just want to dip in and dip out. They don't want to commit to maybe more than a week or two in the summer, So those students, they're focused on pre-K to grade 8. So we do go a little more advanced because of the offerings that our program providers give us. We have some great enrollment numbers. I could plug us, but I'll try not to. But if you're interested in enrichment. And you can find all this information on our website. We have 6 weeks of programs running. They run 2 to 3 hours a day, 4-day-a-week programs. So you sign up and you have 4 days of 2 to 3 hours coverage. And then, of course, the students are welcome to join us after that if they want. Just to give attention to our wonderful providers, we have such choices as Kids Test Kitchen. We have Wicked Cool Science, who's going to be helping support us in our science, in our academic piece. We have Pedro Judo, Wakefield Dance, Code Whiz. So there's really something for everyone. We have Sports Zone and more. All of this can be found on our website. We have our links for our camps and our enrichment. So if I'm talking too much and too fast, you can go back and take a look at it there. But this is something that this summer we're so excited to be able to offer it to our students, to be live and in person like here, and really are so excited. And you're all welcome to stop by the Galvin and take a look at it. We run from July 6th through August 12th, and we run all day. So we're 7:30 to 5 o'clock. So anytime you have a window, just peek in. We'd love to be able to see you and show you all these magnificent kids.
Can you put
Thank you.
the screen before this? We didn't get to see that one.
Yes, I'm so
thank you.
sorry.
That's okay.
Estelle, how many slots are there for the summer for, like each of those, you said how many you've got in Summer Warriors, that was like 118. How many
Yes.
slots are for camp?
We have approximately 30 students in the morning and about 45 to 50 students in the afternoon. It varies depending on the day because you could pick, a week, a day, etc. But we don't. We've kept it open because we found that, there's always those last minute changes. So we'll probably be building on that.
And then the enrichment is for about that same amount of kids, 30 or so kids? Or does it really depend on the activity?
It depends on the
Depends.
activity.
Yep.
We have our vet school, which is one of our most popular programs. And, so that one gets filled pretty quickly. And actually, surprisingly, Code Whiz was another really big one, and Pedro Judo was another large one.
Nice.
So we really, we offer a little something for everyone. So we keep the enrichment open up until about a week or two before it starts, so that those last-minute kids can get in there and enjoy it.
Great. Any other questions for Estelle?
On the slide that was before that, so is there anything for the kids of 6th grade to 8th grade or 6th grade to 12th grade for this section?
For this year, no.
No, okay.
We've just focused with the pandemic situation. We felt that the biggest population that needed that support was our rising 2 to 5s.
Perfect, okay. So the enrichment thing, that would be an offering for the older kids?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually have a few questions. So this Summer of Success was what I think we're using ESSER money to, or maybe not. There's students that got recommended for this program where there was no fee.
Yes.
But then there's students that could actually come in and pay a fee, correct?
Initially, yes.
Okay.
But we
It ended up filling with the recommended students?
we ended up taking all students
Okay.
in, and all of them are tuition free due to the gift that we received.
Okay.
So initially, it was going to be a fee-based support service, but
Right.
then we were able to provide for all of the students that met criteria and who were able to be invited. It was able to be free for all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Many happy families there, by the way.
So it looks like in the pre-K, you're partnering, well, the SOS is partnering with ESY, so
Yes.
Summer of Success with extended school year, which is summer school.
Yep.
But in the 2 through 5, it isn't? Is that correct?
Correct.
So in a situation, I'll use my student as an example. In May, I got the email for extended school year, and then a month later, I got the email for Summer of Success. And as a parent, I wasn't sure what would best meet my daughter's needs. So can anyone speak to where the content might be different or the same?
Do you want me to speak to it?
Go ahead.
I don't want to take it.
I don't know, were other families?
We kind of crossed over because
Okay.
it was really a lot of the strategies that we used for the spring intervention groups kind of came into play when we were talking about summer. And so myself and our elementary instructional leaders worked with Estelle to talk about, who are we looking to target here, and, what are we going to use for data and criteria to support. So we felt like it was kind of similar in that we weren't necessarily looking for students who would have been recommended through special education for a full program, but students who maybe had gaps in different areas that were not quite below grade level, but maybe just needed a boost over the summer. So we used some of our, not only our assessment data that we had from the school year, and but we also sent out a survey to our classroom teachers, and we asked them to make recommendations as well, because we didn't want to just use numbers this year. It was just such a kind of a different year for student data. So we got the teacher recommendations, and then telling them that it was going to be a focus on ELA and math and science, and then we matched that up with our assessment data, and then that's how we broke down the students. And we offered it to as many as we could. I think we were able to actually offer it to almost every student that was recommended by a teacher, which was great because we weren't really sure where our numbers were going to fall. Yeah. And then we matched that up with the staffing that Estelle was able to recruit, which is great. So, so it worked out really well.
Absolutely.
And then, Estelle, just to add to that, I think you did a really nice job planning the basically the curriculum planning that will happen for the summer. So the teachers who are hired to work this will come together for a planning session before the program starts, so that all can be on the same page with feedback from our elementary curriculum leaders around specific targets that should be focused on in lesson plans for whatever grade level the students are in, kind of helping to prioritize skills and standards.
But extended school year is still going to offer some of that same.
Yep.
Right, so either choice would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing with the extended, and we'll get into that in Bev's here
Okay.
too to answer more questions. I think the extended school year services tend to be a little bit more targeted to students' IEP goals and services, and trying to prevent substantial regression related to those. Whereas this is more of a general, we're calling it like continuous, even the word intervention feels a little bit, it's more of like continuous learning, and really just taking what students learned during the school year and just in reinforcing, reviewing, and then prepping for the next year.
Thank you.
It's more of a general offering.
The website?
Oh, it's on the Wakefield Public Schools.
Okay.
I don't have the specific address. I think it's Wakefield Public Schools / Wakefield Academy.
Okay. In case
.org.
anybody's interested, they can
Sorry.
sign on and take a look.
Right, yeah, if you go to the Wakefield Public Schools site and you click on schools, you'll see Wakefield Academy right there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Wakefield-Academy. WakefieldPublicSchools.org/Wakefield-Academy. Stephen, you have a question?
I did. So just so I get the different sort of formats to what kind of just to clear up what Amy was saying is, so there's IEP-based sort of summer school. And then my understanding on what this would have been is it was when we were talking about sort of finding, at the time it was 100-ish students where really they were just a notch below. It was almost like, where are we going to find the biggest return on investment? Where can we give them a bump and get them sort of back? And that was going to be sort of recommendation based.
Yep.
And then, so just past that, have we gotten many emails from parents, from caregivers that would like to have their student be in a program that they weren't necessarily recommended? Are we finding that there's any of those voices?
That's a good question. I would defer to Estelle just in terms of enrollment. Have you found that?
Yeah, we've had several families reach out, mostly for siblings, but we have been able to accommodate any students, and obviously we refer back to the principal and find out exactly what their needs are. But it is designed to allow that, yes.
Brilliant. And just from an academy standpoint, I think you are an integral part of the community. I know just when we were starting out, with school-aged kids, we had no idea what was going to happen with sort of our kids, and Academy was it just came down from heaven. It was amazing. And just your flexibility that we've experienced before just shows, like, it's just magnified here. I see you catering to a number of different levels of sort of our community. And I have no doubt in the ability of sort of the Academy to push that. And everything, the Wicked Cool Science program is top notch. So to know that they're going to be having some a hand in the science is amazing. And our kids will be in Test Kitchen and Code Whiz. And they are so, right now my kids want to know when's it going to be, middle of August. I'm like, we have to get through July first. They're excited.
Oh, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be able to offer all these choices to our families. It's amazing, and we could not do it without all of you supporting us. It just wouldn't be able to happen. So to have that support just makes my job that much easier. And then of course to see the kids, it's just amazing.
Thank you.
How long has the Academy been in place for now?
I believe it's 17 years.
Wow. Do you have a cap on enrollment, or are you just ready to take whoever wants to?
We have never had a cap before, so we want to keep that. Yeah, that's the biggest piece with families are when's registration, I need to make sure I get in there, which is July 30th. But we do not have a cap.
Thank you.
So I think I would like to add, just as a context piece for the committee and for anyone who might be watching, in regard to our process, when we talk about the pandemic, we've talked about it here, we talk about intervention services, we talk about providing support outside of the school day, right? When we talk about really providing resources and expanding services, right? As Kara and Estelle and myself in terms of process, as we get in the conference room and kind of list all of the things that we want to do, all of the points of intersection, who we want to partner with, how we want to prioritize resources. Wakefield Academy has existed for 17 years, but never in this form, right? And so this is now taking academics, right, and also individual interest kind of separate classes and also bringing them to scale to the community, right? So you can modify if you need to be there for part of the week, you can be there for part of the week. If you need to be there for the whole week, you can be there for the whole week. But there's also an academic component where we're blending enrichment with academic support, which I think for us is really the next significant area of growth. We've talked about this for a number of years, and I think COVID and a number of things that have fallen into place for us, along with, I think, Estelle's leadership. We can kind of put this on the whiteboard all we want, but the person that has to go out, get the kids, recruit staff, manage the day-to-day, that falls to the leadership of Estelle. And so, yes, Wakefield Academy has been in business for quite some time, but never in this form. And I think it's a testament to Estelle, her hard work, and the people that she's been able to hire. So I think we really appreciate your work, Estelle. So I don't think we can say enough about that. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to jump to the next slide?
Yep.
So, hi Bev, I see you on the screen. I can give Bev Elsowitz has really taken the lead. She's been a huge part of the leadership and planning of the special education extended school year. So Bev, I'll just give a brief overview, and then if you can be on standby for questions. So the special education extended school year, I just talked about it a little bit in response to Amy's question. That's really standard every year that school districts offer extended school year services for students. Not all students in special education, but some students are recommended through their team process. And the point of this service is to really support students in preventing regression over the summer months And so it may be a full program, a continuation of a program that occurred during the school year. It may be academic support services, related therapies, whatever is recommended by the students team. So it tends to be a little bit more individualized. So that is continuing to be offered at the Galvin this summer. And like I said, Bev Elsowitz has been the leader of that work and working really closely with our special education coordinators and our special education staff to get referrals of students, place students together in groups, and then provide that outreach to families as well around the schedule. So that's just kind of a brief overview of that piece. But I don't want to skip over it too quickly if people have questions, and Bev is here to answer as well.
I just have a quick question. Will the high school students be back to help this year? That's a good question. The kids really like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We're really relying on them this year because a lot of our veteran staff is really tired from this past year with all the remote and the hybrid and the in-person. So a lot of them, like Kathy, you were retired, so a lot of my people that I rely on weren't able to return. They need the summer off, and I totally understand that. So we had to pull quite a bit from the high school helpers. And we relied very heavily on the college students that ended up working in person with us last year and did an awesome job. So we called on them to return this year too. And we were very lucky to recruit staff from student teachers, from students that came here as fellowships from Merrimack and Salem State. They did their year with us and they stepped up and they're really helping us with the summer. And the other thing too that we've added is we have an enrichment program. So the students will come for their academic support, which is reading, writing, and math, and they'll also either have STEM or phys ed every day to break it up so that they're not feeling like they're being punished because they're in school. So we added that last year, and then we boosted that a little bit this year too. And we are servicing from preschool all the way up to the high school. We either provide up to grade 8 is the ESY academic support program, which is the 9 to 12 program. And then up to the high school, we provide math, reading, tutoring, and that's all the way from grades 1 all the way up to high school level.
Thank you. And I assume masks are required this summer?
Masks are required as of right now, yeah. Except for outside, it kind of standard with school.
Yeah, same as school year. Okay, thank you.
Either Bev or Kara, can you talk a little bit more about the Acceleration Academy? Is that for kids that are looking to accelerate where they're at now if they're already a little bit advanced and trying to accelerate more, or is it for kids that are maybe struggling now and to accelerate?
I can speak to that, Amy, as a next point. I'll go into details on those two sections. But before I do, any other special ed? Because that's a separate component for the summer.
Okay.
But I just don't want to skip to that if there's any other special ed questions for Bev. No. Okay. Thanks so much for joining, Bev, and for all of your hard work.
No problem.
Thank you,
Bev.
Bev.
We're up to 354 students.
Wow. That's great.
That's as of an hour ago.
Wow. It's a big undertaking.
That's great.
Thanks, Bev.
Thanks, Bev.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bev.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so I can move on to the Acceleration Academy. So the Acceleration Academy is a really exciting new opportunity that was presented to us from DESE. They put out a grant focused on these summer Acceleration Academies, and they encourage districts to apply. We did apply, and actually today we just found out that we were awarded the grant. So it's really great news for us and for our students for the summer. So the way that we wrote the grant, there were two acceleration academies that districts could focus on, one being in early literacy and one being math. And for the early literacy, they narrowed it down to certain grade levels, rising K and 1, current K and 1. And then for math, they were really strict with the criteria. They wanted districts to narrow in on either grades 3 and 4 or incoming 8th graders and incoming 10th graders. So we had to make a decision around how many students we wanted to serve. I think we were looking to really create programs where we could serve the maximum amount of students possible. And we wrote the grant to be really staff heavy, really focused on recruiting high quality teachers to run the groups. The Acceleration Academy has a lot of strict criteria. The groups can't be more than 10 to 12. We do have to monitor progress. There's site facilitators who conduct observations, and there has to be specific criteria for recommending students. So the way we wrote the grant in Wakefield is we decided to focus on our incoming kindergartners. We felt that, in looking at all the wonderful offerings that Estelle is putting out towards Academy, thinking about special education programming, we felt like our incoming kindergartners as a whole were maybe an untapped group that has been significantly impacted by COVID, just in terms of the disruption of early intervention services, preschool services, daycare facilities. And we felt that if we could, we also felt it was hard to really narrow down criteria, and we felt like it would be nice to do a general offering to everyone. And so that's how we wrote the grant, that we're focusing our incoming kindergartners and giving them a 1-week experience with, before kindergarten. We'll have the week of August 16th and the week of August 23rd as options. Groups will be small. There'll be 10 to 12 students in a group. We'll do some pre-planning to look at targets. We will do maybe some early, light assessment of skills just to hit the ground running, so we really know where students are when they start. We're also going to be looking carefully at just acclimating students to the school environment and really looking at, that social emotional piece, student communication interactions with obviously a literacy focus. So we're really excited about that. We're really hopeful that we would get the grant, and so we have already started the recruitment process and put out anticipated opening, pending the grant approval. We've gotten a lot of interest from our staff within the district, so we're going to continue that planning. And our next step will be, we've had kindergarten orientations at most of the schools, I think, by now. And not orientation, there's all these different kindergarten meeting. Yeah. We've had kindergarten meetings at each of the elementary schools. So our next step is going to be outreach to families to get confirmation on how many would be interested in attending, and maybe preference of weeks as well, because August is a pretty heavy vacation month. So we really would love it if we could get all of our incoming kindergartners in. And then for math, we're, like I said, targeting incoming 8th and incoming 10th, and we do have a little more data on those students. So we're going to do a combination of using our iReady assessment data that we've done a mid-year and end of year, and then also looking at report card information as well, and teacher recommendations. So we think that we're probably going to be able to accommodate maybe up to 72 students in 8th grade, and then the same in 10th. Combination of 72 students across those 2 grade levels. So we're hoping, that we get a good amount of interest. And what we'll do is we'll set it up so that we're always going to fill the spots. We'll have, a list of students that would meet criteria first, and then if they can't participate, we'll have some backup students as well, because it's just such a great opportunity. We want to fill the spots, and we have really high interest from our teaching staff as well to participate.
This is also outside of the footprint of the regular services that were described by Estelle, right? So we're doing this intentionally to try to capture our K students before the start of the school year. We think it's a really nice opportunity for them, and also for our math students as well. But the majority of this grant, we really thought that districts had a choice. Districts had a choice in terms of how they would prioritize, and I'm pleased that in the decision that we've made to really target our kindergartners, because it gives them an opportunity. It's like a soft opening, right? It gives kindergartners and families an opportunity to kind of get in, understand the routines of the day, maybe see who their friends are, and then depending on the enrollment, we might even be able to bring more than one site online to do this, right? And so
the timing works out well. We'll have already had kindergarten screening, and then a lot of the class lists will be in play as well. So we'll have a lot of good information to work from.
The teachers will be working then to put the students that they think would be good in that program. now?
No, so the kindergarten, so the Early Literacy Academy, we're gonna offer to all.
To everybody?
Yeah, so
okay.
it will be an invitation extended to all of our currently registered kindergartners.
Okay, and for the math?
But for the math, that's where I'm currently working with our math curriculum coordinator, Lindsay Mosca. You had met at one of the last meetings, and we're looking to establish criteria. And it's probably gonna largely be based on our iReady as our math assessment tool. So we'll probably look at that information as well as report card information and teacher recommendations.
Okay, and then the parents would get an email or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that'll be the next step because we already know what we have for staffing interest, and so then the next step will be to see who we can get for students to
Okay.
commit.
Do you have a timeline for that yet?
We'll probably start that. I mean, I think we want to give parents as much notice as possible. The math is going to happen all in 1 week, the week of August 23rd, I believe. So we're able to run the math group simultaneously across that 1 week. Kindergarten, we had to split just for the amount of kids. We had split over 2 weeks with our staff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we'll try to be quick on that because we know some of the plans are happening. Yeah.
Couple of questions,
Yeah.
and if you said it, I apologize for asking again. Why 8 and 10?
So that was what DESI put out. So they
Oh,
said if you're going
okay.
to, if you get awarded the grant money,
You gotta do it for 8
they
and
would
10.
like us to focus on either incoming 3, incoming 4, incoming 8, incoming 10. And that was the way it broke out. So we did feel like with Estelle's program targeting ELA and math, we felt like we kind of had 3 and 4 covered. So we're looking to spread out where we can support students. So that's why we wrote the grant to focus on those two.
How much was the grant for?
It was $90,000. Yeah.
So,
Really
and just
exciting.
another important piece here. So the department came out with this grant just about a week ago. And so the window closes Friday. So they come out late with this. And so, we know several questions that we're gonna get is, could we know about this sooner? The department has just floated this, right? And so I will tell you that I think us, Kara, myself, Estelle's had a hand in this, right? And certainly Christine and our grant administrator as well has also consulted with us. But we got the grant done, completed, back in about 4 days, which is the fastest we've ever submitted a grant like this. We shared some initial kind of bones of the architecture of the grant. We shared it with the labor subcommittee and got feedback, and Tom actually gave us some feedback on how to really maximize the grant as well. So, we took feedback, got it in, got back, and we just learned today that we were awarded the grant. So now it's up to us to now we got to fill the seats. But, we're kind of, trying to get after every dollar that we can to really help and get kids acclimated and get kids back and ready. Right. And I'm particularly pleased, I love this idea. Again, I can't thank Kara and Lindsay Mosca as well for their feedback around, let's not try to do a little in every grade. Let's try to really focus this and try to get a bang for our buck. And so, I think that this is really the most exceptional way to do it. One of the things that we were getting hung up on initially was I was trying to get out of
Doug.
yeah. They gave us guidelines, and I didn't like the guidelines, so I was trying to get outside of the guidelines. So Kara reeled us back in. We got a little feedback from Tom. We got the grant down. We got the money. So I'm very pleased about that, and we think it's been a collaborative effort, and we're looking forward to reporting more as we move throughout the summer, right? And no, it's never. We could have used more if they had awarded more, but the money that they had given was predetermined. But initially in our initial draft, we were looking at a little less than all that they had granted, and we got some good advice from Tom, who said you could use all that. And so we figured that out. So we figured that we could use all that. And so fortunately, again, we got the grant, and I think it's a collaborative effort. And again, but this is kind of a sign of the direction that we're going, things you're going to see because we are also collaborating with the Boys and Girls Club, right, around doing a pilot with them to support the academic programming that they're going to be using. We want them to use the same platforms that we use in our schools so that kids have a similar experience. So Estelle is working with Adam and Anthony at the Boys and Girls Club. And, you know, we're starting small. You know, they've rented a space, a different space in Wakefield. They're going to be over in the Greenwood area. But, you know, we're looking at really kind of expanding our partnerships and really thinking about how we can creatively support students academically outside of our school day and outside of our school year. More to follow on that. But.
Go ahead.
Just a quick, where are they being held? I didn't.
So that's a good question. So so again, in an ideal world, every kindergartner would come and we would take the class list and we'd split them in two and house them at their home building. But again, it's really going to be dependent on enrollment. So I feel like that's going to be the third part of the planning once we know who's coming and staffing.
Yeah.
And then same with the math. I mean, I would think, you know, the Galvin is always a great hub in the summer. So the early literacy is probably a little bit more up in the air, but the Galvin, I would think would be the place for the math.
So to your point, Doug, where we're aligning on sort of curriculum or doing our best to so that we're not exposing the kids to too many different things. I know that we're supposed to roll out in the elementaries like a new math curriculum. We have that plan. Is that factoring into any of this?
So that's district-wide.
Yeah.
K through 12 will be the math curriculum rollout for next year. So Lindsay Mosca is our math curriculum coordinator. She's going to do a lot of the pre-planning for these groups, and it's going to be largely looking at, she really wants it to be about continuing skill development and problem solving. And so she's really going to look back in what the students learned in 7th grade, where they're falling short, and then help to design lessons and activities that will help them to be in a better spot to start 8th grade and 10th grade. So that's really the goal, to accelerate them, close any gaps, and then so that the students who participate are in a really good spot to start the next grade level.
Okay.
So she'll be part of that pre-planning. Will she preview any of the illustrative math resources, that sort of thing? I'm not sure yet. We still have to do a little bit more planning. Again, it's not meant to get ahead. It's meant to make sure that students, have had the support they needed to be in a good spot to start the next grade level.
Okay, that makes sense. And then in terms of the incoming kindergartners, I'm just wondering, is there any thought being put into, I'm thinking if I had a pre-K child in some families, they may not have gone to preschool, or they may have stayed home for the past year or so, and in some families, that first day of kindergarten, when you're sort of, or the first week, or the first, there's some attachment issues. So is there concern that might impact sort of the goals of the program?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it especially with incoming kindergartners, there's no perfect scenario where we open up our doors and we are accessible to all, and we make accommodations where we need to. So I think what we'll have to do is work really carefully with families if we get the call, and we'll have to have that communication back and forth. My child's going to be really nervous, and we might say, well, maybe just come, for the first hour and try it out, and then and come back. Or maybe a student has already identified special needs, and we might supplement additional staffing for that student, or make sure that we have some pre-planning done. So it's really our goal is to be open to all, and to let parents get something out of this, and just to give the exposure, whether it's for the ideal is for the full week, but we are a public school and we're accessible for all, so we're going to have to really work closely with families.
That'd be great. I think that'll be great, because even then, if you get the first week is this week, then when they get to the actual first week,
it'd be easy peasy.
Yeah.
So
and smaller groups too. I think that small group,
Yeah.
10 to 12 in a session, is really critical to helping to ease kids in.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Right.
great.
What would be lovely is if we could get a really high enrollment, right? And that would allow us more flexibility to kind of open some different sites, right? Which would be exciting.
I will tell all my friends.
What's that?
I will tell all my friends.
Let's promote. We were waiting till we officially got word that the grant was approved, which was today. So now we can really, get the ball rolling.
So with the grant, that'll cover all the costs?
It will cover all of the staffing costs, and we feel like we're in a really good spot in terms of materials for both math and early literacy, just based on things that we already have within the district that we've already budgeted for next year as well. There may be a supplemental, depending on enrollment, that may get into some supplemental staffing that we've already, we worked through and talked about how we might support that. I've had meetings with Christine and said, if we get this many students, or, if there are different situations where we need additional para support. I actually am glad you brought that up. That was a key piece. So, we did, even with the group of 10 to 12, we're looking at a lead teacher and then an assistant support as well. And then the other piece of the early literacy acceleration is that students have to have access to a specialist every day. So we wrote in the grant to have a specialist teacher on site as well. So, yeah.
What do you mean by specialist? Like
So,
psychologist?
art, music,
that kind of specialist, okay.
library media. So depending on who applies, it doesn't say which type of special, but a specialist activity.
Okay.
Yeah, specialist class.
Fun.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, I think we're all set.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for putting that together. That's amazing. That you
Yeah.
did that in such a short, I'm picturing like Hungry Hippo going after the grants. Nailed it.
So, next up, if I could continue to take items that, out of order, my goodness. So we'd like to just move to the elementary curriculum coaching reorganization, the job descriptions. And so we have a few slides that might help kind of better inform the committee. So we've already discussed this at the labor subcommittee. And so, but we just to kind of keep the larger committee in the loop around what this is. This kind of reorganization is really a reorganization of job descriptions. It's personnel neutral, right? And so, we hope to be doing more of this annually as student needs change, right? And as they change at each level, instead of the old staffing model of, we have this many staff and we've had this many staff every year and we hope to have this many staff plus one or two the following year, And so we have to provide a greater context and be more flexible based on the needs of students that we're serving, right? So there needs to be kind of more of a description. So what Kara's going to talk a little bit about is what was a literacy coaching model, which was critical when Steve Reich started the workshop model and literacy coaching, right? And so that was a fundamental part of developing and supporting teachers to use a new curriculum. That curriculum's in place. Teachers are really effective and efficient using it. Now it's time to really broaden those skills that students are using in literacy into other content areas. But I'll let kind of Kara fill it in from there.
Estelle, can I borrow the clicker? I forgot to get it. Thank you.
Yeah, Estelle, yeah. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Estelle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you in the morning.
So while I know that we're talking just about elementary tonight, we thought it might be helpful to just give the big picture and how the elementary piece completes that larger curriculum and instruction leadership team. So you can see, so as Doug just mentioned, prior to this year, we had a model where we had 5 to 12 curriculum coordinators at the secondary level in every subject area, in ELA, math, science, social studies, world language. And then we had 4 building-based literacy coaches at the elementary level. So what we're proposing here is to really complete the build of curriculum coordinators to have that K-12 perspective. So I'll just walk you through from elementary on the left-hand side. So the idea would be to have, we currently have a K-4 STEM curriculum coordinator. In 2019, we had reallocated a math coach position. There was one math coach across the elementary level. in addition to the 4 building-based literacy coaches. We made a decision to reallocate that position to create the STEM curriculum coordinator, which could kind of start the build. And then now we're looking to have a complement to that, and by STEM, that curriculum coordinator is in charge of all of science and all of math at the elementary level. And what we're doing, and that's Valerie Drynan, who you met in a couple of meetings ago. And what we're looking to do with the reallocation of positions is to create a K-4 humanities coordinator. And that person would be responsible for oversight of all ELA and social studies curriculum at the elementary level. And this model right here provides a K-12 lens. I think you saw the way Valerie and Lindsay worked so closely together on the math curriculum review. It's really an attempt to not only have that consistency across the elementary level, but also to have that vertical piece in play as well. The role of the curriculum coordinator is huge. These are our content experts in the district. They work closely with teachers, with principals, and the curriculum coordinators are really part of the decision-making decision-making around curriculum resources, ensuring that we're teaching to the standards, that what is being taught at each grade level makes sense, and then complements the next grade level from there. It also, I think, brings our elementary level together, whereas the building-based literacy coach model kind of felt like buildings were working in isolation, and this now creates a consistent oversight of curriculum instruction at the elementary level. And then under the coordinator at the elementary level, there's you can see that coach title. So I kind of look at the curriculum coordinators as really talking about what is being taught when in terms of the content and the grade levels, and then the coaches really come into play to talk about how to deliver, how to successfully instruct our students, and to really look carefully at instructional practices. And so we would have a STEM coach and then a humanities coach that would work closely across the elementary level with our teaching staff. And then our instructional leadership team members, this was a new stipended position that was agreed upon in the last contract negotiations, that we would, in order to show how important this work is, that we would take the instructional leadership at the elementary level outside of the school day and provide a stipend. And it's a position where teachers will apply, and will be part of instructional leadership meetings. We'll work closely with the coach and the curriculum coordinators, and be open to opening up their classrooms and to giving feedback and supporting their teacher colleagues as well.
So can I add?
Yeah,
there?
please.
So you'll see not only just symmetry, but in personnel that are responsible, but a goal and a need. A goal is to have greater continuity. So Kara talked about when we talk about curriculum builds, we talk about alignment vertically, like pre-K through post or 12, right? But then we also talk about horizontal alignment, grade to grade, school to school, right? And so one of the things that really started to show itself is with individual coaches and individual schools, is that some people were getting a little bit off the track, or some people were some people needed more coaching, some people were kind of becoming more effective more quickly. And so what we had is our curriculums were not being kind of administered the same way, right? And this really started to show itself with Learn Anywhere. Amy pointed this out, right? Yeah. When we started Learn Anywhere, and we put all of our assignments online, and said, okay, in our Learn Anywhere program, so this is 5 years ago now, we put all the stuff online. It was like, okay, well, wait a minute. First grade assignments at this school is a little different than this school, right? And so one of the benefits of COVID, or kind of one of our areas that I think we've really grown into a nice space, is we've been forced to collaborate with our different schedules, with a morning session and an afternoon session elementary. We've had to align the experiences and the lessons that kids were having, right? And so the takeaway there was, we need to continue that and not kind of create isolation, or where people go back and but we also need to not just continue it, we need to expand it into science and into social studies, right? Because really in COVID, during our modified schedules, the focus was really literacy and math, right? And then science and social studies, were taught, but it was really a distant second, right? We need to kind of be more effective in those spaces, and we really think this does that. So on the left side of this slide, when you see coordinator, coach, so you have a humanities coach. So the literacy coaching model will now be carried over to social studies, and also to science, right? So we feel like coaching is still valuable. And then beneath that, which Kara pointed out, the ILTs, those are stipended positions that were kind of negotiated in the last round, that we feel like these things will beautifully complement one another, and it will also help us kind of align the work that our ILTs will do, not only with our coaches and our coordinators, but with our 5 through 12 people as well. So it creates it creates more consistency, more continuity, and a better experience, no matter what school you're at, no matter what classroom you're in, right? And so, I don't.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that covered it. And then, as you can see, going farther down, the model that's been in place at the secondary level is to have a 5 through 8 curriculum liaison, and then a 9 to 12 department coordinator in every subject area. And those job descriptions had been previously approved. I think it was in spring of 2019. And the curriculum liaison role has lesser, it's really the idea of both of those roles is to have building-based curriculum leaders who work directly with the curriculum coordinators. The challenge at Galvin with the curriculum liaison role is that they teach a full load, so that there can be more challenges in having time within the school day to plan, that sort of thing. So we had to be cognizant of that when we were putting together the updated job description. So the department coordinator role does have more bulleted responsibilities on the job description, and they do have time built into their schedule to plan with the curriculum coordinators as well. And it's a lot of support with professional development, ordering, supporting the department, that sort of thing. And so I think that kind of just shows you a big picture overview. Even we're talking about elementary, we just wanted you to see that. And this is the team that I work really closely with. We meet all the time. We are meeting to plan professional development, to talk about curriculum and instruction. And I envision, like we've done with the STEM coordinator, is pulling the humanities coordinator right in the group, so we can have those K-12 conversations, which are really, really important, because I think it did feel at one point that we weren't having as many conversations that we needed to have from level to level. And so it really supports future decision making too. We can come back to this, but I just really wanted to highlight it is budget neutral. It's a matter of just redesign and changing responsibilities. And I just highlighted that the STEM curriculum coordinator was created by the reallocation of a math coach at one point. And then I think we've already spoken to all of the benefits of the shift. So, but happy to take any questions.
Eric, could you go back 2 slides?
Absolutely.
Again? So the fact that for 5 through 8 you're using curriculum liaisons who have less time available, so it's a different position versus the 9 through 12 department coordinators, does that mean there's a gap at the middle school because there isn't as much time to focus on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those situations where we've, the model was there, I think, pre-me, pre-Doug, it's been there for a while. I think if we could look at a redesign potentially, or look at schedules differently, it's just the middle school schedule can be more challenging. Yeah. We need all of the teaching staff teaching most days, whereas at the high school there's more choices that open up that give a little bit more flex. Not 100%, but I just saw Will's face on the screen when I said there's more flex, but there is. I had to comment on that. I shouldn't say more flex, but there's the possibility with teaching however amount of blocks that we can structure it, that the department coordinators have one of the blocks for planning. With the curriculum coordinators.
For the future, perhaps.
But your question is intuitive in that it is an area that we need to look at as we look at the new schedule and we look at different responsibilities, right? And so these are things that we need to continue to ask, right? And so we need to be able to come to this table to be sharing what, why, and how, right? And so, you're spot on, Michael. I think it is a significant area of growth for us is, first of all, when you look at that, that kind of lineup, the other piece that I don't want to be missed is that the personnel that are filling those spots are instructional leaders, they're future administrators, right? And so, make no mistake about it. When you hear Lindsay Mosca here talking to school committee, it doesn't take you long to figure out like, this kid has a future in administration, right? And so, or when you hear Val Drinan, or when you hear Jason Pavey, we realize that these are kind of likely, and Aaron Manzi, and I don't want to name each one by name, but or leave anyone out for that matter, but this is kind of, when we talk about building a bench, right, this is it, right? So that's a piece. But in regard to your question, Michael, I do think it is something that we need to talk about, and it's likely an agenda item that the Labor Subcommittee will probably be taking up in August or September.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, what's the 6 next to the ILT?
6 members.
And how is that structured?
So that's something that we're still working on with principals. So one of the other benefits from this year is the amount of collaboration that's happened among elementary principals. And so we just started to talk in a little bit more depth about the structure of ILT meetings. That's another area of consistency we're looking to build. ILT has existed at each of the buildings, but maybe was run in a different way. So we're really looking to be really thoughtful about the purpose of those meetings, how they're run, who is on there as a representative. So I think in the past it's definitely been somebody from every grade level. I think special ed representation, a specialist representation. We know we have six places, and that's really it's kind of a
It's
vague
supposed to
number right
represent
now.
number of personnel.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I
it
wasn't
could
sure
look
if it was
different.
culled from a specific.
No.
Okay.
And it will be a matter, it's going to be a posted position that people apply. So that will make a difference too.
It's a stipend to their,
Yep.
it's additional work and they'll get
Absolutely.
additional pay.
Yep. After school hours, so.
The only question I have is, so you're going from 4 literacy coaches to 2, so are 2 gonna support 2 elementary buildings now?
So we're really looking at the coaching model as happening across all 4 buildings, but being a little bit more focused and directed. I think, for the work that I've done in the last 3 years, I felt like even the model of 4 at the elementary, each building base, Woodville and Dolby are double the size of Greenwood and Walton, double the teachers. So even that kind of got a little bit difficult to really arrange, who's directing the coaching, when are teachers asking for coaching, is it possible in the big building? So I think we're looking to have the coaching piece be a little bit more targeted and focused in terms of maybe starting with brand new teachers as a starting point to onboard in-district teachers, also working really closely with the ILT. I think the math curriculum rollout is going to be a big focus area. So we're going to have a STEM coach and a humanities coach, but they're going to work really closely with the coordinators and the ILTs and the building principals to talk about where their time is best spent across the 4 schools. And there'll also be, again, another just consistent lens. I just think it really helps so much. Like Doug said, this year with COVID, everything just became out there, more transparent. We were having more conversations, more collaboration. So it really just gives a really good understanding of the elementary as a whole when we have people who can serve as bridges and go from school to school.
Consistency is good. Do you think they'll have the bandwidth to support 4 different elementary schools
Well,
at the same time?
yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that's why, and we've talked a lot about that, especially like thinking about the Walton and Greenwood and the way the literacy coaches coach there with, that size staff. I mean, coaching can't happen to the extent that it happened in the past. It's going to have to be a little bit more focused.
I would also add there that, during COVID, right, we're looking at, 2 of our coaches this year kind of took on this work without the titles, right? And so 2 of our coaches worked collaboratively in kind of coordinating humanities and in coaching, right? And so, and building kind of a network and also crossing over subjects, it gives you, and also tying it into ILT, it gives you more people to work with. So the idea, so literacy coaches, yes, they were only in one school, right? But they were responsible for these, if you were in, like Kara said, it's different in Greenwood than it is in Woodville or Dolbear. You had twice the number of classrooms, right? And so, but this is a game changer because it creates a network of people that you can work with in class and outside of class, right? It ties you into the ILT and ties you into the coordinator, right? And which ties into professional development. So this just, it opens up and makes your work more public, and you have more access than you did before in the prior model, which was created by Superintendent Zreich. I'm gonna have to send him a picture of this.
What have you done?
I'm joking. So,
I also
yeah.
think the support, just again, just referencing the meetings and the collaboration with building principals and this group, it's just been really critical to the progress that I think we've made. And I see it being a support not only for teachers, but also for principals who can't be content experts across the board. I don't think any principal can, and I think we see that benefit as well at the secondary level, just to have people whose job it is to stay 100% current with curriculum and their specific content areas, and to network and to meet with other districts and really bring, just be people that we can really rely on within the district.
Okay, are we at a point where we should make a motion? I think we've had a presentation and discussion. So I'd like to move that the school committee approve the elementary curriculum and coaching job descriptions as presented.
Second?
Motion made and seconded, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? All right, unanimous. Out of order again?
Continuing.
Are you going with C or A?
We're going to go with C. We'll close with A. How's that,
There
right?
we go.
And so, just any final thoughts on the final review and vote of the updated animals in schools policy?
Kevin, would you like to speak to that, just of kind of what you've provided in the packet for us to vote on? Because I think this was out on the table, you guys took some guidance from us at the last meeting to just take another look at it coming off of Officer Kelly's presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. No, happy to. So Mr. Ingalls, Ms. Lehman, Superintendent, and I, and Ms. Morrow, met and talked a little bit about the feedback and tried to incorporate everything that those around the table had provided. So we shifted around some things. In particular, one of the things that I think was confusing in the way that it was drafted the last time was the exceptions. So, or the animals in the situations that in particular were listed out. So we did some maneuvering around. We also made a change with what had been left with the principal's decisions. We made it to reflect that it would be by the superintendent or their designee over much of the policy. So, so incorporated some of the feedback there, which you've been presented with today. I think as a whole, I think the subcommittee, was very much in favor of this policy and the opportunity to have SAMI in our schools, and just knowing the impact that it can have, positive impact that it can have on a school setting, and for those that will react particularly well, but also being very cognizant and being sure that we're making sure that it's safe and done responsibly, etc. If you haven't followed Sammy's Instagram, it's a nice little thing to see sometimes throughout the day, having a tough day, and you see this really cute baby, cute puppy, so I certainly encourage you to. So, but no, I mean, I don't know if, Superintendent, if you have anything to add, or?
I think you've covered it nicely. Thank you.
I met Sammy today.
Did you really?
She's so cute and so sweet.
Where?
At the police station.
All right.
I took my little one over. She wants to be a police officer when she grows up. So I took her over to go say hi, and Sammy was there. So
that's great.
She got to play with her for a little bit. Yeah, it was awesome. Great, great.
Definitely wants to be a police.
Right, yeah.
Any questions for,
That was a great document, yeah.
okay, then I think we're good to vote.
So I make a motion, I move the school committee approve updated policy number 1107, animals in schools, as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, we're good.
Great, just quick comments and updates, just to close out, just to let people know where we are with COVID. In the last 4 weeks, 4 weeks ago, we had 0 cases. The week after that, we had 0. Last week, we had 1 positive case, 1 high schooler. And this week, so far, we have 0 cases. We have 24 students in quarantine, and that's 23 of the 24 have all been directed by their parent to be and kind of, so it's, we keep track of the reason why kids are out of school or why they're in quarantine. And so the overwhelming majority of those are kind of family directed, which is really wonderful, right? Which is an indicator that not only are parents rule followers, but they're keeping kids home when they're sick, right? But the illness that we're now seeing is kind of natural colds, allergies, and our nurses are terrifically encouraged by that. What we're starting to kind of be challenged by a little bit now is that with everything opening up and masks being kind of, and social distancing being changed in other public areas, I think the feeling, especially at the high school, I think some of the students are feeling like, so do I need this thing or what? And the questions, so one of the comments that was made tonight around our summer programming, we will continue to wear masks and so be socially distant in our summer programming, unless that guidance changes. And so my sense is that it's likely to change in the coming weeks, right? And so more to follow on that, but we're trending downward in a beautiful way. I think we're in our last week of school, and ironically, we're all able to meet together, right? And so this is a good sign of very positive things to come. I know that schools have kind of modified end-of-year celebrations, and we think that, in some ways, COVID has been a blessing and has brought things a little bit more back into scale, right, in regard to some of the end-of-year celebrations that were getting very large and very difficult to manage, and things that were happening over a week. And, I think things have been kind of dialed down a little bit, I think, and some people are grateful for that. And so that's where we're at. A week ago today, I will tell you that Tom Walsh, our emergency manager for our town, hosted a tabletop scenario for a district crisis issue. The timing was difficult for us, but important. And again, a reminder that we need to get back to kind of safety training and doing all the things that we did pre-COVID. And I used to think we were pretty exceptional at it. And I think that, we're a little rusty, and we're kind of got to get back at that. And I want to thank Tom Walsh publicly for inviting us on the school side and to join with fire and police and members of the NEMLEX STARS, just to be part of those tabletop exercises, just to be thinking through things that we need to be aware of to continue to keep students safe. So with the exception of that, graduation a week ago, or a week before this past Saturday, and the high school administration and students and families did an amazing job. Michael, like you said, Susie's speech was right? Fantastic. Epic. Right, and so thank goodness it's on YouTube now, so it's
Nobody will miss it.
I think it had thousands of hits, but tens of thousands maybe at that point, but all joking aside, I think things are ending in a space. We talk all the time about this notion of ending well to open well, and between summer services, between our grant work, between all that you're hearing, and the work that we're doing, I have to be honest, I think that we couldn't be ending in a better place, right? And I think we're grateful for that. So thank you, and And to students and families, or families that might be watching, thank you. But that's it for my comments and updates, so thank you.
All right, we'll move on to subcommittee reports. So from a finance and facilities standpoint, we've met twice since our last meeting. We met on the 3rd and the 10th. On the 3rd, we spent a decent amount of time talking about the Galvin water break, because it had just happened, kind of what needed to happen, what needed to be fixed. We talked a little bit about, so from a facility standpoint, we talked about the Galvin water break, setting up for graduation, some things that are going on at the Walton that had happened around plumbing backup, I believe. We had the high school the architects walking through the high school that might want to put in a bid to be an architect on the project. That was happening probably
Tomorrow night?
Oh, is it tomorrow night? I was going to say it's got to be coming soon. We talked a little bit about the crisis planning that you just mentioned. And then on the 10th, we spent some time talking about early retirement, which is a topic that we will be talking about at a special meeting on Thursday. That will be the only topic for our meeting on Thursday night. And also spent some time talking about non-union salaries, which is going to be a topic on a future meeting. So those were kind of all of the topics that we covered at finance and facilities. Any questions on that? Okay, labor and personnel, Tom?
Sure. Pretty similarly to what you just described, Susie, we've met twice in the last, since the last meeting as well. We've discussed things that were discussed, bring forward tonight, Thursday night, and the following meeting. For example, the job descriptions that the superintendent, assistant superintendent just reviewed and we just approved, we discussed those. The early retirement incentive piece, which would be the subject of Thursday's meeting, we reviewed that as well. And the non-representative salary schedules, which should be on the agenda for the 29th. We also spent some time preparing and strategizing a bit for we're having a joint meeting with the WEA leadership on Thursday evening of this week.
Questions for Tom? Okay. Mike, Student Services?
So we met just about 2 weeks ago. The idea of that meeting was that Amy Lehman, Amy Wall, and I were bringing sort of some pet projects or key areas of interest that we would like to focus on in the upcoming year. So we got through, I had to leave a few minutes early, so I'm not sure we got through the entire list, but we got pretty close, so we'll have to finish off that list next. And then the idea is to try to look at those, look at what the administration already has, and see what's a realistic plan of milestones, that are realistic goals, I guess, for us. So we'll probably do that 2 weeks hence. So we're going to start our in-person meetings like just a week from tomorrow, so actually it'll be soon. So that's what'll get interesting about trying to prioritize.
Perfect. And Kevin?
Yeah, thank you. We met 2 weeks ago as well. Most of our work revolved around the policy, which we've approved today. Literally just kind of did edits as we went along. We too also talked a little bit about the events at Galvin on the 27th, more from a policy perspective and/or kind of begging the question if there was an emergency process, what are some of the lessons learned, the communication, those sorts of things. And so a good conversation around that. In terms of communications, we're all kind of anxious for a potential intern from either the University of Massachusetts Lowell or Emerson. My guess is as we head in the summer that they're probably not going to be able to recruit too many interns yet, but hopefully by the fall for school year 2021, 2022, that we'll have a couple interns to assist us with some of those things. And lastly, Mr. Ingalls brought up, as we've reviewed some of the policies, some of the older policies that are online that haven't been reviewed in many years. So I think one of the tasks we might undertake is dividing up the policy book. I've been through this before and kind of go through an update, either literally just keep it the same, but having formally reviewed it, et cetera. Our next meeting is to be determined, and so especially as we transition to in-person, our current time, which was convenient when remote, is going to be less convenient in person, so we'll find some times. And then lastly, I had mentioned the last time, and this has been on a topic, at least since I was on here as well, was do we want to pursue the potential that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees house our policy book and assist us with that. And so Superintendent Lyons provided some additional information today, which I think we'll pick up at our next meeting as well. There's a lot of upside to it. It, of course, is costly, and that side of me, always, and why we never, went through with it, I think, in the past. But I think Superintendent Lyons brings up some good points of why it might be advantageous to do so. So we'll review that information, I think, at our next meeting.
So just for clarity for the public and the subcommittee situation, right? So as of midnight last night, we now are out of the state of emergency. We need to operate like we did under OML rules, and subcommittees do fall under that kind of those rules, which says everybody needs to meet in person. So like Kevin mentioned, we had kind of set up a schedule that kind of worked for everybody if they could do it remotely, which no longer kind of works well for many. We do anticipate that the state is probably going to put something in place that is going to allow for some level of remote meetings, but we've got to wait for that to happen. So I think all of us probably need to be thinking about when is that next subcommittee meeting? Could we do one in person kind of while we wait for the state to potentially come through with something that will make it slightly easier for us to meet? So I know I didn't mention when our next meeting is because we haven't figured that out, but we do all need to be thinking of, as chairs of the subcommittees about how to get us back together in person, at least in the short term. So for next meetings, we've got, as I mentioned, or we've mentioned a couple times now, there's going to be a special meeting on Thursday. We are only going to have one topic at that meeting. That will be the early retirement incentive program, so that will be discussed. We will have a meeting here at 7:30, and then a regular school committee meeting is scheduled for the 29th, Tuesday the 29th, here at 7:30. We'll go to school committee comments, and I'll just start down this way and kind of work our way. So Amy?
Oh, thank you. Just wish everyone a happy last day. It's Friday. I know my kids are excited. That's it. Everyone have a great summer.
Kevin?
Great, yeah, thank you. Two things. The chair mentioned earlier in the week to an email to us that several of us received emails from students about a variety of topics. I received two in particular. One was about homework, one was on food quality and those sorts of things. So I always really enjoy having the opportunity for students to reach out. So I first want to thank the faculty who have incorporated that in their civics class. And we may not have a huge student viewership, but if we do, I certainly encourage students to reach out and to interact. And I think it's just valuable for me as a member to kind of hear the lived experience and the issues that students are dealing with. We have an opportunity every other week to hear from some of our high school students, but more updates. So to hear some of those things and concerns that they have, and anytime someone asks for my opinion on something, I'm always willing to share it. So, but it was a really wonderful opportunity, I think, to hear about two very important topics, but also to have that interaction, which was really, really valuable for me and hopefully for them. I also want to wish everyone well as we reach the end of the year. I know for myself, professionally, I got a chance to kind of exhale a few weeks ago, a little bit ahead of all of you. And this was, to say quite the year is a huge understatement. And I think sometimes in education, we're really quick to be self-critical of ourselves, and we can think about all the things that maybe we could have done better. But I also think that this is an opportunity to just acknowledge the amazing work that has been done by so many that are involved in the schools. The school committee of the past, our leadership that's here at this table, and also the faculty and staff who I think have done what I think so many people thought was going to be impossible, and that's to have a year where we can continue to educate and continue to move forward despite a pandemic that we've never been through. And so I'm going to echo Mr. Markham's sentiments in that thank you seems like not enough, But I certainly, would be remiss not to take this moment to thank our faculty, our staff, our administrators for doing the impossible day in and day out. And I hope for those that have the summer off or have an opportunity to take some time, will take that time to relax and to recharge and to do all those sorts of things. For those that work throughout the summer, hopefully you have some days off and can have a chance to do all those things as well. I feel like every time I talk to the superintendent, I mention I have the day off. So I've certainly taken advantage of that myself, as I have to burn my vacation. But I have to admit, it's made a huge difference. As I had described earlier in the year, at least my experience teaching during a pandemic and the toll that I think that it took on me, on our students, et cetera. So knowing that that's pales in comparison to what our teachers and our staff and our administrators have gone through at this level, I'm just so appreciative and just wanted to take this moment to wish everyone well, to express my thanks, particularly because most of the year I was an observer, but just to take a step back and to have watched what's been accomplished is nothing short of amazing, and just really, really appreciative of everybody in the school system that have continued to move our district forward at a time when it could have been easy not to. And I think that there's a lot of accomplishments that have continued to happen. So I wish everyone well, enjoy your summer break, and look forward to continuing our work together as we look towards the next school year. So thank you.
Amy?
Sure. So this past weekend, Amy and myself went to the Charting the Course class, I guess you'd call it, for lack of a better word. So a couple of things that had stood out to me were setting goals. So they said the summertime is usually the time when we start setting goals for the coming year. So that's something that I'm looking forward to kind of working with everybody to see what our goals are going to be moving forward. The other thing was about communication to build trust. I know that's something I bring up a lot, is how are we going to communicate this to the parents, to the community. So it's just something I want to remain focused on. That probably will be one of my goals myself, is to just make sure that we're being as transparent with everything that we do. I mean, I know there's certain things that are confidential, but with the majority of things, to be as transparent as we can with everybody. Even one of the things, and it's nice to see how the room is set up, that was one of the things they talked about. A lot of times the TV, we kind of sit so it makes it easier for the TV, but it's better for us if we can see each other eye to eye. It makes the meeting, I think, run a little smoother. We can see each other. We're not kind of looking down the table at each other. So those are just a couple of things that stood out to me, which I thought was really good. And I share the sentiments with you both as well about having a great summer. Thank you to all the teachers and staff and the parents that acted as teachers and staff and the grandparents and the aunts and uncles and whoever else was involved. So great year for everybody. And I know for myself, I'm happy it's almost over. But have a great summer.
Thanks, Amy. Mike?
Just a couple things, quick things, and then one bigger thing. So TSF last week awarded $730,000 to students at Wakefield. That's pretty amazing for a little town like us to be able to award that kind of funds to so many people. Is great. Senior week was awesome. I mean, kudos to everybody. Ton of work went into it, and I don't think it could have gone much better at everything that took place. We talked about the whole food thing and the fact that we'll have the meal plan through the end of August. Danielle and Maureen Miller sat down, and they're already trying to work out how they're going to continue that through partnership with the food pantry. So we're lucky we have such a great community. But I would have to say the biggest impact to me was the retiring teachers. Nobody goes into teaching to be a billionaire. If they do, it was a very poor career choice for them. But they touch lives, and it's awfully hard to put a price on that. Touch lives, our children touch our lives because they've touched our children as well. So I thought that was amazing. So Thanks for doing that.
Sure.
That's it.
Stephen?
So thank you isn't enough. That's kind of just the word that comes to mind for the year that everyone's been through. I've been astounded at sort of the amount of pivoting that's happened, like from administration on down to the educator level, the paras, the students, the kids. I wouldn't have thought that we would be here a year ago, 16 months ago, and the fact that we are, it's a testament to the town. Everyone's doing their part. but our community has just sort of risen to a level that I think was unexpected. Everyone likes to think that we were in a good place, but I think this sort of proved that we definitely were. All of the sort of the helping out, the families looking after other families, the amount of donations that went to the food pantry through this was phenomenal. Everyone just stepped up, and it was a testament. So I know as the summer comes, as we're getting outside, I think everyone's just breathing a little bit easier. I see it in other families. I see it sort of in the businesses and the people walking downtown, and I'm just very optimistic of sort of what we're going to come back to in the fall. And hopefully a little renewed, a little more confident in ourselves in what's been done, and then what we can do forward. I love that what I see in the summer program is that what you said, Doug, is the alignment that we learned. Like we're seeing benefit of like stuff learned. Never let a disaster go to waste. And so fully done, and I expect we're going to see some things in the fall that we're going to have to leverage again and continue on that sort of building on helping kids get where they want to be as learners. And I think we're developing tools now almost organically, and then amplifying that through the amazing people that we have on staff. So just it's a thank you. It's just what I can think. I know it's not enough, but that's all I say. I'm just impressed. So
Tom?
Thanks. I join really each of my colleagues, and really everything that you've all said have been, terrifically stated and tremendously thoughtful. So I join each of you that. One thing I wanted to follow up. I too, I'm sure we all did, received these emails from eighth graders, and that has been a lot of fun. And I was going to bring up one little funny story, if I may. The two topics that I think I don't remember the number, 4 or 5 emails, but homework was one of the topics that I got. I also got the topic on the delayed start, the start times, and I kind of, when I was reading it, the student that sent it along had done some actual research, right? Mm-hmm. There was like some advocacy around that piece, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. This is really going to be a lot of fun. But anyways, they were very thoughtful in the advocacy and the research, and the outreach was a lot of fun. One slightly funny story is my son had first received 2 of the emails, because I'm in the system. We're both in the system as Thomas Markham. So anyway, so he asked me, why am I getting these kids? And he knows some of the kids. One of them lived down the street. Because he sent me an email about homework. I mean, what
he
does
could have some fun there applying, right?
I go, what did you say? Oh my God. Anyways, it was a funny little story I thought I'd share. But no, thank you all I couldn't agree more with the comments tonight. Thank you.
So I have a few things to talk about. So the civics project has been, I agree, really fun getting those emails. I got a lot of them because my kids are in 8th grade, and I presented to their team just that cohort of 15 kids. I did a little presentation about being local government and school committee, and what it's like to be involved, and what are all the different committees that you could be a part of, and what's it like to run. And so a bunch of those kids ended up reaching out to me. But the topics were all legit, right? Like they were curriculum changes, like somebody thinks we should have a personal finance class that's required that includes understanding like why your credit score is so important. Another girl had requested something around curriculum changes that focused more on kind of race and diversity and LGBTQ topics kind of in the content. I had someone reach out about getting Muslim holidays off. I had someone get in touch with me about the meal quality, which was my son's project. Recycling in the schools, start times, high school and middle school recess or brain breaks. Every single one of them was well thought out and had kind of a compelling kind of argument as to why we should consider these items. So that's been really fun. I've really enjoyed that. I did want to touch, Amy, on your comment about goals. That is absolutely going to be a topic on the retreat. The intent is to talk about district goals, and so that will absolutely be something that we spend some time on. I've also, in the last 3 weeks, had the opportunity to be a part of the Pride flag raising, the Juneteenth flag raising last night. I attended the prom. I saw Amy there. The
Grand March.
Yeah, the Grand March, right, which was slightly different than in past years, but senior night, and then really culminated with graduation, which was hot. Let me just say, very hot. But what an honor to stand and hand every single graduate their diploma. It really, first of all, I was crying as everyone was walking in, and my kids are like, "Are you kidding me? You like don't even know these kids." But I know I do, right? Like they're older sisters and brothers of my friends' kids. I know some of these families, so it was really meaningful and really quite special. And like you said, Mike, like what a week! Like it all just worked out. Like the weather was great for every single event that happened, and so we really lucked out. And I feel very honored to have been able to be at all of those things. I'll close with the Warrior Pride Night that was put together for incoming ninth graders that I think was put together relatively last minute, that happened out on the track, and it was all focused mostly on sports. I think there were a couple of clubs that were there, but I was really impressed with how it was a mix of students and coaches, and they kind of welcomed you as you arrived with your student. And I walked in with a child who's not terribly sports oriented. It was a struggle to even get her there, and she was welcomed by two somewhat familiar faces to me, but maybe not so much to her, about why you want to join the track team, and we do all of these fun things, and it's really not that high pressure, and you can learn to pole jump, and we'll support you, and just so like welcoming. And then went down to the tennis table and got the same thing, like not super pressure, like it didn't feel high pressure. They did such a nice job, and I left there feeling like I actually think my daughter might participate in one of these things, because it was encouraging, and there were just, everybody was just so nice, and not that that should be a surprise, but it was just such a nice environment. And I just think Brendan and the coaches and the students did such a nice job. And I'll say there were seniors who had graduated on Saturday, and this happened on the Wednesday after graduation. There were seniors who had graduated who were there kind of representing their sports. That really stood out to me. Those kids didn't need to be there, but they really feel a sense of pride around the sports that they play, and it was really super impressive. So I will close with, there isn't enough ways to say thank you, right? I think, Kevin, you did a great job with kind of stating that. It has been a crazy year, and teachers, staff, administrators, you guys have worked so very hard, and I look forward to you all having the break that you all deserve, to be able to take a step back and take a breath. And I think, Stephen, you're right. Like, it starts to feel like the future is bright, right? It just feels like this fall is going to be great. And I think you guys are setting kids up for success with all of the work that you talked about that will happen over the summer. So we'll be back here on Thursday. So I'll see everybody on Thursday. But I think we are ready to make a motion to close the meeting.
Certainly, I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting of June 15, 2021.
Motion made and seconded. I don't think there's going to be any discussion. All in favor? All opposed? All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.